Hey, Bobby Manning here, Noah Dalzell alongside for a practice report. And we did get some details on Kristaps Porzingis, who's day-to-day, coming out of that last game with the illness, missed the second half, missed the final 7 minutes of the second quarter. And after saying that he wasn't sure if it's related to the previous illness, the one in March, I believe, that caused Porzingis 8 games in a row, he did say that Porzingis has been fighting through that kind of fatigue, that kind of after effects of that illness, and that's what caused him to be unable to continue in yesterday's game, which I think we all feared, suspected, and now definitely casts some uncertainty over at least the near term of his playoff run here.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, March 15th is when he makes his return after missing, I think, almost 11 games with that illness from late February to mid-March. And we don't hear a ton about it since. He does appear, I think he was on the injury report once with questionable with an illness. Yeah. And then there was that one game that he just kind of, towards the end of the season, that he just left at the half and we never saw him again. And I think afterwards, Joe said there was no cause for concern, but he wasn't on the sidelines the rest of the way. I don't know if that's related here, but what Joe told us today, which is a development, is that he hasn't he's been dealing with this since he came back.
Fighting through it.
Yeah, fighting through it, and that it was just too much for him in this game. And we had no idea a week ago that this was even in play anymore. So it is big news to know that now he's been dealing with this illness. I don't know if it's related to why he struggled in the first round, but the fact that he wasn't able to push through it in a playoff game, that how excited he is to play against his former team. He wants to be part of this postseason run, as you reported, and the fact that he wasn't able to come back, does give me some pause about what it is that he's dealing with here.
Yeah, and we don't know what he's dealing with. I feel like we never even got a good grasp on what the illness was. You mentioned like a bronchitis, right? They tested for mononucleosis, wasn't that? I think you could rule out some of the other illnesses that they can test for there. So just a lot of uncertainty around it. And it is concerning that we're, 2, maybe almost 3 months out now from it. March would be 2, right? I'm getting my months mixed up.
Almost 2 months, yeah.
So I have concerns here because you're going to have to play big minutes in the playoffs. You're going to have to play every other day soon. I think their final 2-day gap's coming up here. And he just hasn't looked great over the last 2 rounds here. Now, is that the physicality he's had to go up against? Is that exhaustion that he's dealing with? Is it something else? Lack of a touch? We've debated all these different things, and now you're throwing illness into it.
Yeah, and honestly, when it comes to illness, I do think bigger than basketball, because you just don't know what is that he's dealing with. You don't know. To miss that much time, and a guy, he's young, he's healthy, there's no reason for something like this to linger for so long, but there are so many different things that can go wrong in the human body, and I don't even want
concerns about more
and I don't want to speculate, because we literally have no idea, and he might know exactly what he has and is not reporting it, or maybe they're still in the process of figuring it out. That happens to people sometimes, right? So I think the most important thing is that he gets healthy and that he's able to just be himself and be able to be an athlete, because that's ultimately kind of the bottom line here. But certainly in the short term, as you're talking about a Celtics team that's already, dealing with various injuries, looks like Sam Hauser's probably going to miss some time here. Joe said he was day-to-day. It's a concern because, you do need him and you do want him for this run. And I don't know if he's going to be good to go. And if he's going to be a more limited version of himself. And if maybe that's why he's been a more limited version of himself.
Al Horford said that definitely impacted them, not having him. I think looking back at the tape, the moments where they had Cornet in there and they could dump it off to him were great. He ended up in foul trouble, and then when they were 5 out, the Knicks just kind of flattened them out. So having Porzingis as that post-up element, as a guy that can catch the ball and finish inside, just be in that dunker spot, I think that's so important for them right now. And we obviously debated yesterday a little bit. Do you keep starting him? Do you bring him off the bench? Obviously, we'll see if he's even available at this point, but I think they missed him pretty badly out there. And whether it's running better sets for him or just finding ways to get him more clean looks, I said it during the season, I don't think they can do it without him this time. And so that's, you mentioned the health being the first concern there, but I think if he's going to miss some time or not be himself here, you do start to worry about this series a little bit. I believe in Luke, but he's not Porzingis.
And you're putting a ton on Al Horford, and there's the reality that Jaylen Brown has been limited.
What Horford did yesterday was ridiculous.
Yeah, he was incredible. And I think you look at, Jaylen Brown still somewhat dealing with a knee injury. He told us he was nearing 100%, but he was on the injury report for it for much of the first round. So there's other guys that are banged up. They could potentially be down 2 out of their 9 rotation players if Hauser and Porzingis aren't available to go on Wednesday.
And what Drew say? He's going to see how he's
and Drew said he's going to see how he responds with his hamstring. So I guess we'll see. Injury report will be out. Maybe by the time you watch watch this video and we'll have more clarity on that. But I think the reality is that their margin of error gets smaller and smaller every time they lose a player. They easily could have and should have won this game without Porzingis. I know it made a difference.
Are healthy.
Yeah, but they were up by 20 without him, so it's not the reason that they lost. But certainly, it just gives them it just gives them a little bit less that can go wrong when you're missing one of your key guys, and it just puts a ton of pressure on a guy, Al Horford, who has done a remarkable job of meeting the moment. But again, you don't want to have to rely on him exclusively again for another playoff run.
Yeah, Tatum, Brown, a lot of pressure on them offensively too when they don't have an option like that to go to, and they can handle it. They've done it. I think they're capable of winning the series without some of the guys we're talking about here, but it's going to become a lot more difficult, and I think the Knicks showed everybody yesterday that they're not to be taken lightly, even though I did and others did. So Game 2's tomorrow, 7 o'clock. We'll have coverage of that. We'll have updates with the injuries, as you mentioned here. Noah's going live at 2:30, so she'll talk about that some more. And then we talked with Chris Herring on the Garden Report today as well, so you can go check out that for some Knicks perspective coming out of that game. For Noah Dalzell, I'm Bobby Manning. There's been a practice report here from the Auerbach Center. Porzingis, Hauser, both day-to-day.